everyone. Jason with you. Zulu time. Private pilot lesson 3.2. If there was ever a lesson to watch twice, it's going to be this one. I'm sure I'll say that about a future lesson coming up here. But Zulu time, geez, I wasn't a flight instructor until I understood Zulu time. And that's just, that's me being vulnerable and humble with you guys. Because, well, you're like family to us. Zulu time is a difficult topic to understand, but before we get into that, I do want to share just a little bit about the history of Zulu time and why we actually use it. So, why Zulu time? Zulu time is also known as Greenwich Mean Time. Now, actually in the 60s, we got rid of using GMT and switched it for UTC, which is Universal Coordinated Time. I know they kind of flipped the acronym around a little bit on that, but UTC is the actual time it's referred to, but people still use GMT, UTC, and Zulu interchangeably in aviation. So know that 3 different names all talking about the same thing. Now, the reason we call it Zulu time, though, is the military uses the phonetic letter Z, Zulu, to refer to time at the prime meridian. So how do we calculate UTC, this Zulu time? Well, you need to know military time. And basically, we take our military time, and we're going to add or subtract. In most cases, my East Coast guys, we add, and I'll share with you exactly how much. West Coast guys are going to add a little bit more. And of course, I know we have students from all over the world, so that's why in some cases we actually subtract. But we're going to add or subtract the right amount of hours based on daylight savings time. And this is where it gets confusing. But the reason we have Zulu time is I want to be able to tell you, hey, we're doing a webinar at 2100 Zulu, and whether you're in California, whether you're in London, whether you're in Florida, we'll all be there at the same time. That's why we use Zulu time. So pilots are all on the same page and operating at the same times. Now, here's how we calculate it for our areas. I'll use the East Coast as an example. Right now, the East Coast is plus 4 hours of military time. I would take the 24-hour clock of military time and I'd add 4 hours to it. That's because we're on Eastern Daylight Time. However, when the time changes and we move to Eastern Standard Time, we then add 5 hours instead of 4. You can see where it can get confusing. Am I on Eastern Daylight? Am I on Eastern Standard? If you live in Arizona, you don't celebrate either of those. You just stick with the same time all the time. That's why it can get so confusing. And Zulu time can be such a debacle sometimes to figure out what time is it in Zulu. Take the military time, add 4 hours to get your UTC, your Zulu time. If that's too confusing to you and you think, am I on daylight time? Am I on standard time? Here's a beautiful chart. I'll leave this chart up for a second for you to look at it and kind of see. But take what time it is right now when you're watching this video and work your way on across. Okay, it's 12 p.m. It's, depending if you're standard or daylight, here's what time it is in Zulu time. This chart is also printable and available underneath this video if it's something you want to print out and tape to the back of your knee board or laminate and throw it in your flight bag, because you're going to be asked when you call up the flight service station briefer, what time will you be departing in Zulu? And you can't just go, oh yeah, 10:30 local, and make him do the calculations. Maybe you could, but it's not very professional of you. So you've got to know Zulu time. You got to understand Zulu time. Utilize this chart that's underneath this video, and let's get a handle on Zulu time before we move